Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Happy Friday to you. Taking a look here at WIF hat, seeing what's going on. Perfect bounce off that 0.618 fib level. Hindsight's 2020 would have been a phenomenal place to take entry there at about that 230 range. What we can see here though with the current fibs is just a solid amount of support in that lower 0.618 fib level. We got a macro fair value gap that we need to talk about. And then of course, there's a lot of liquidation on the upside too, just based on this local high being retested. 280 looks like it's got a target on its back. So just be careful if you are trying to short this coin. I know it seems like a juicy target, but a lot of shorts are getting destroyed right now. It's not really a good shorting scenario for a lot of coins, which I know is crazy because this time yesterday, it was not a good situation for a long either. So just kind of a crazy, crazy market. But that's the market we live in. So I want to say thank you so much for always hitting that like button, commenting below if you get a chance. Don't forget to subscribe and enable alerts. When we take a look here at WIF hat, though, what we can recognize is the last 7 days of liquidation on the left, the 30 days on the right. Ever since we come close to this 282 mark, we see a ton of shorts. That is a lot. That is like about 1.5 billion at 291. You add this all up, maybe somewhere in the range of about $3 to $4 billion, upwards of 310, 320. That's a lot of liquidation, folks, here in the local range. And again, we kind of zoom out and in, we can see, yeah, right around 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 billion, upwards of $3.10. So that is a heavy amount of liquidation. Keep in mind too, there's a lot to the downside. We're not really worried or concerned with that just yet, because those are both recent, more late longs and early longs too. So they're in at a pretty good price point. We zoom down too, we can kind of see that the delta is pretty nice. Generally speaking, when you see the delta shifting from bearish to bullish, or there's basically more longs than shorts right now, that does imply continuation, but also implies the price action's getting closer to the end of its initial run. So we could see a little pullback here, capitulation that's very standard and normal in these situations. In fact, we took a look at the hourly. We're about 7 hours into this continuation here. So I think a pullback will be warranted here in the relative near future. But I would recommend being fairly patient in this regard here, because again, when a coin's running like this, it's best to avoid trying to catch the runner and to wait for it to pull back to a key level support. At least that's my strategy in most cases, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute. Take a look here, of course, on the daily time frame. We're getting close to 70 on the RSI, another reason why we might see a bit of a resistance there. It breaks through, that's a different story altogether. We could continue to run, but generally speaking, getting closer to 70 on the RSI, getting close to that resistance range, it would make sense for the price to pull back a little bit. Money flow index is down a little as well, but you got to recognize that's based on the last 14 candles. We've had a lot of up and down recently, so that can be a conflicting indication. So if you're using an indicator that has like 5 million different oscillators within it, and you got like a red diamond or a green dot or something like that, that's going to be a little bit of a false positive right now. Again, when the market jumps up and down, the daily time frame can give you some of those indications. Before we leave the daily time frame, let's respect the fact that we're in an ascending trend. We're over the 200-day SMA now, as well as the 20 running concurrent with this ascending trend line. There's really no reason to short this coin. You're better off waiting for another, maybe a better long opportunity than you are to try to short the top right now. At least what feels like the top. Okay, again, we're going to talk about that. 4-hour time frame. Let's go ahead and draw out some new fibs so we can kind of see where we're at here in this local range. And if the price does end up pulling back, what does that look like for us? Okay, so let's discuss here really quick the fair value gap that's present here on the charts. That comes down as low as about 253. So if the price does pull back, that would be a solid consideration for long. And the reason why is because we got this local high turned into a potential new low. So this is kind of a consideration here for long to me, just based on that previous resistance broken and hasn't been retested as a support. Fair value gaps are nice, kind of help you identify where there's been a lot of manipulation, where the price kind of gapped up, so to speak. And just got to recognize too, what happens is these market makers, they're moving the price action in this time. They move it really fast. Now that everyone is FOMOing in to the top, that's all the more reason for them to drive it down and to destroy any opposition so they can do whatever the heck they want with this too. So fair value gaps are generally just traps, I guess you could say, the best way to understand it. And there's a solid chance it's going to get filled. So me personally, instead of trying to short to that range, because that's not a guarantee by any stretch, you'd be much better off considering a long in that range instead. And once again, what you want to do is you want to reevaluate and understand what Bitcoin's doing at that time too. You don't just jump in blindly to a long position on WIF hat if Bitcoin is breaking bearish, right? You got to do that. Do your due diligence rather, and make sure you understand what Bitcoin's doing. Bitcoin has a lot of liquidation above the price, upwards of 63.5. These are two considerations for short entries. so far. Again, I'm going to reevaluate later, but if the price does pull back to 61.8, that would be a solid consideration for a long, right? Again, if you understand that about Bitcoin, how Bitcoin's moving, it makes your altcoin interpretation a lot better, all right? It just kind of helps there. So, and that's actually half the reason why people watch my channel so much, is just because I'm thoroughly understanding how Bitcoin moves and making a lot of moves based on that. Like here's an example for just so you understand, we took a good 30%, 29% from Bitcoin short in the last 24 hours. Aptos short 40% there. And just so you know, we shorted from 62.3 down to 59.9. We could have got more profit at 59,000, but again, you set the targets before you take the trade to make sure that you're not just consistently jumping in and out and being kind of an addictive maniac, right? That's what gambler mentalities do. They just kind of jump in willy-nilly and don't set goals for their trades. Always set targets before you trade. So 4-hour time frame, we are coming close to 70 on the RSI, another resistance for us. Now, it's not to say that can't be broken. If it breaks, we got to respect the fact that it'll probably continue to run. So we're coming up to this resistance range. So generally speaking, the best practice in a resistance range is to let it test it the first time, maybe cup and handle out, and essentially play the next leg up. Between now and then, shorting into that, it's still too risky in my personal opinion. Again, money flow index is not super high, so we're not seeing a ton of strength. Once again, what you got to recognize though, this is actually still very strong. It's just that there was so much buying pressure here in the last 14 candles that the money flow index is a bit off. But truth is, there's still a solid amount of volume here, and the price should sustain itself. We got a MACD convergence, trend strength indicators high. I mean, we got a lot of reasons why the price is more likely to stay where it's at and or go higher. It's just hard for me to want to say take a long right now, because it's overextended. It's leading into a resistance. Oftentimes you want to give the resistance a chance to be able to hold. If it breaks, that might be a different story. We look for a bullish backtest of that trend line, and that's when you consider a long. Okay, leading into this, it just doesn't make a ton of sense. However, great momentum here, a lot of strength in the market. Bitcoin is running towards its current resistance at 62.7/63. So we will see probably some continuation here for some coins. Just recognize if Bitcoin pulls back, we're going to see some alts pull back too. Bitcoin dominance is still way too high at this point. Last but not least, hourly is going to confirm everything is in great shape here. And for the last 24-hour period, we can see so far, right there, exactly that 0.5 fib level, with the most amount of volume at 252. So a perfect entry on dog whiff hat should be 252, 253, right in that range. Those are things I'm going to be looking for personally. I don't like to take a long at the top. That's just me personally. I'm just not that kind of trader. So anyways, I'll update our playout chart here on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord as per usual. If you're not familiar, it looks a little something like this, where I just kind of give you indications on coins that I'm trading right now as to where I want to try to get in, and more importantly, just an overall summary of what I was able to analyze in the charts. We'll look forward to seeing the next one. Do not forget to like the video, comment below. Oh, also, make sure you trade dog whiff hat on the world's best exchange. Bitunix, phenomenal exchange, excellent rewards right now. They have a deposit bonus this month. It is phenomenal. Be sure to check them out. They are no KYC or VPN required. All right, folks. Thanks again. We'll see you in the next one. Be safe.